presentation is 3 years in the making. In the March of 2020, let's imagine that, I got a call from El Summit asking me if I would like to speak. My wonderful New York City was shutting down, as was the rest of the world. 2 weeks later, they asked me what I was going to talk about, and I said, how about marketing in a post-pandemic world? 2.5 years later, that's become marketing during turbulent times. It makes me reflect back to a moment in 2007 when I was at Kraft in a conference room at our headquarters in Chicago. There was a futurist who came to speak. Now, often when futurists speak, even back then, they would talk about things that you never thought would happen in your life. They would already talk about chips and brains that would know what you wanted to order, and those products would be ordered without you saying anything and delivered to your door. What they also talked about that day was that we were entering a VUCA world. Has anyone heard of VUCA? Volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Who thinks we're in a VUCA world? I think we've all been there, done that, and we've all gotten the t-shirt. This futurist talked about a global pandemic, talked about scarcity of water, talked about a rise in natural disasters, and in 2007, we thought that would be the problem of our children or our children's children. But that's not what ultimately happened. We're living in a VUCA world, and we're here today. How can we think about how the consumer's mind has changed, how your mind as a consumer, your behaviors, your attitudes, what you love, what you don't love, your expectations, and then how can we, as marketers and manufacturers of food products, meet the needs of these consumers? So, where are we? Let's zoom out and take a macro look at what's going on in the world. Number 1, low to no global growth. Number 2, tightened financial markets and institutions. Number 3, social unrest. Number 4, divisive political discourse. Number 5, crazy inflation. Number 6, uncertain food and energy, uncertainty around food and energy. And all that brings us to number 7, which is a brittle supply chain. Now, what's important to know is this isn't about one country, one region. This is a global economy we're competing in, and it's a global consumer. And yet, the consumer is still opening their wallet and making purchases. There's a cacophony of choices. There's growth of quick commerce. That's 20-minute delivery from order to delivery, and that relies on micro-warehousing, optimized navigation for routes, and incredible big data and analytics. Super apps like Rappi, started out just delivering food, now they deliver your whole life's ecosystem. Third, social platform purchases. How many of you have ordered off of TikTok? Now, with a video of less than 10 seconds, 60% of Gen Zers prefer ordering off of social than off of regular digital apps. Digital wallet. It's expected that this year, 50% of e-com purchases will be paid for by digital wallet and not classic credit cards. There are new ways to engage. There's shoppable media. I already talked about TikTok. Do you know that there are 1 billion TikTok videos watched every single day? And there are the top 2 purchases on TikTok are 1, cosmetics, and 2, LED lighting for bedrooms. AR packaging innovations. I walked the floor and walked to the packaging section. There is a winery that doesn't have a label, they just have a QR code. And when you engage the QR code on your smartphone, it turns into a 3D life experience about the brand. Retail media networks. Okay, back in the day, it was account-based marketing. Then it became shopper marketing. Now it's retail media networks. Retailers like Target, Walmart, Kroger are becoming media behemoths. Walmart last year booked $2.1 billion in advertising revenue, and that number is going to double. But more importantly, and double in a short amount of time, more importantly, it's because of the eyeballs that Walmart can get for their media network ecosystem. They attract more people to their media than 2 to 3 times Disney does. Think about that. A retail chain gets more eyeballs than the Walt Disney Media Company. So we're going from omnichannel to omnipresent. Think about how you are surrounded by advertising. In the 70s, and I remember the 70s, you would see maybe 500 ads in a day, and that would be a lot. That meant a lot of television. Today, most people are hit by 6,000 to 10,000 ads per day. And do you know what that actually translates into? It translates into a lack of loyalty. 90% of people say that they're open to trying new brands. They don't feel they need to stick with the brands that they know. Omnipresent also means that shopping by voice. In 2022, $40 billion worth of product will be bought by voice. Amazon Amazon accepts 4,000 orders per minute. I mean, the numbers are staggering. So you can't look back. You have to look forward as your businesses move into the future. As a food manufacturer and a CPG manufacturer, we used to look at the data and we would feel like it would help us make decisions for tomorrow. But the data doesn't do that for us now the way it used to be. Now, data, in CPG, it isn't closed loop. We don't own the experience. And then look at the challenge of inventory. Inventory went from non-existent to too much and anywhere in between. And what that's done is data cannot give us the decisions for tomorrow. They're too backward looking. We need to look forward. What data does moving forward is helps us understand the digital journey that we are all on so that we can leverage data to give the messaging that we want. And that brings us to a world of sequential marketing. So before, it was about reaching the right people and then how many times you had to reach them. Sequential marketing is completely different. That's about, since I'm surrounded by advertising and I will get 10,000 messages a day, now there's an understanding, let's say for a brand that wants you to make a purchase, they need to hit you 3 times with functional messaging about the product, and then the next time they should change their marketing for the next message to be about conversion to purchase, and perhaps they sweeten it with an incentive. But data helps us create sequential marketing and deliver much better results. So don't look back, you're not going that way. With all that, how do we find the opportunities to grow our businesses? There are 5 key drivers, and those drivers are value, identity, experiences, technology, and rights. And we'll go through each of them. These are the drivers that over the past several years have changed how we approach brands, products, services, where we want to put our money, where we want to put our time. So for value, value is the tangible and measurable benefit of an investment. And that investment doesn't have to only be money. It can be our investment of time. It can be our investment of information about ourselves. So purchase experience. 90% of buyers online are willing to share their information if it will improve their purchasing experience. Personal development. Gen Zers spend $300 a month on personal development. That's more than 2 times what baby boomers spend. Identity. Identity is the understanding and expression of ourselves and where we are in community, where we are in society. I think just the picture of a selfie helps you understand that social has taken the center role in where we put our identity, and we're looking for validation. But think about this. The social platforms, which we can post to 24/7, intimate things about our lives, what we're doing, what we want, what we've experienced. But in the more than 10 years, almost 15 years, that some of these social platforms have been out, we have changed as people. So my 30-year-old son, who used to post about dirt bike riding, now wants to post about being a consultant at one of the big consulting firms. Well, you know what he's done? He's also trying to change his digital identity, and he has different Instagram accounts. So something that we'll be looking for in the future is what's the thread? How do we watch our digital identity age? Experiences. We were starved of experiences during lockdown, so we are seeking stimulation for our physical and digital lives. Has anyone seen the Van Gogh immersive event in Mexico City? So when that event hit New York City, it took down Ticketmaster. 2.5 million tickets sold in the first day, sold out. They had to add many more days, many more opportunities. We're seeking stimulation, and that can also be in our digital world through streaming and virtual reality. And actually, 60% of consumers say they would rather watch a video than read a brand blog. Next is technology, and this might be the big kahuna. Solutions through technology that better our physical and digital lives. So I talked about digital omnipresence, but mobile acceleration. Within the next 2 years, 5G is going to be available in 40% of the planet. 40%, and it will be responsible for 25% of mobile traffic. Within Latin America, within the next 2 years, mobile penetration will reach 73%, which means adding 57 million new unique subscribers. And the last one that impacts how we engage with the world and what we want out of life is rights. By rights, I mean that we all want to be respected, protected, and supported. And we expect that not just from the people that we allow in our lives, but from the brands that we allow in our lives. So we all know the ask not to track. And that's what most of us want to do. And it's a little frightening that 40% of people don't trust big companies to be ethical with their data. Brand equity means that we want to align ourselves with brands that share our values. The big daddy in that space is always Patagonia. They've always been about protecting the environment, and they put their money where their mouth is, and they make big announcements like they did last week. So, value, identity, experiences, technology, and rights. So what do I do with that? Those are drivers, but how do I get to a place where I can then create an action plan that will better my business? There are 3, we call them insight-based themes: craving control, enjoyment and experiences everywhere, and ethical and accountable. And this is what I mean by them. And these should unlock or enable you to unlock ideas for product, packaging, services, marketing, and how we behave as business leaders, and the companies, how companies behave, because consumers are watching. So, craving control, what does that mean? We had no control when the world shut down, so now we want more control. Enjoyment and experiences everywhere. We are looking to be tickled with joy at every juncture. Ethical and accountable, our last insight area, is really about pass-through activism. And we talked about Patagonia before, but we want to align ourselves with brands that make us feel good. And they're doing the things that we want to do. So I would like to improve my carbon footprint, but that's hard for me to do. I'd rather give my money through products and buy the products of companies that are doing the right thing by the environment. If you think about Tide's Loads of Hope, they bring washers and dryers to communities that have been through a natural disaster. That makes me want to buy Tide, even though I know there are so many generics out there. So we started in the VUCA world, and we end on a moment of hope, hope for the future. What's your next move for you, your company? Well, then that's a wrap.